What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Reality. I'm your host, Cole, and today's episode is going to be all about decluttering our digital space. Now, I don't know about you, but my phone buzzed 42 times by noon today. And for some reason, we think this is normal. But in reality, I'm tired of feeling the buzz on my phone, on my watch, on the laptop. I just feel like a lot of us nowadays are so inundated with every notification under the sun. So, in this episode, I'm going to touch on the notification overload, how this kind of gives us the overstimulation that we experience every day. And lastly, I'm going to give some solutions that I've been putting into practice that have definitely helped me, and I want to share them with you because hopefully they can help you too. And don't get me wrong, while you're listening, I understand the battle here. I work in the corporate 9-to-5 world. My 5 to 9 is typically built for personal growth and things like this podcast, but there's gonna have to be a give because I'm to the point where I'm tired of feeling like I have to read 1,000 notifications a day. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, now in my typical fashion, I do like to start these podcasts or really just outline them in 3 simple, easy to understand sections. And this first section of this podcast is gonna stem around the overstimulation. And yes, we all know what this means, but I'm going to talk to you from a Gen Z perspective. I'm in my mid-20s now, navigating career. I've got a ton of family reaching out to me. I've got friends, partners, and relationships that we're all trying to collect under our umbrella of life. Now, this is extremely difficult when it comes to being able to be in multiple places at once. And not to mention, it's extremely distracting. And I thought about this. I was trying to understand, like, why do we always feel like we're pulled in 1,000 different directions? And it came to me, and this is my own personal realization. Gen Z, once again, is unique. I feel like the problems, and not even problems, I'll just call them challenges that we are experiencing in our 20s is unique to the Gen Z and millennial experience that I just don't understand. I don't think other generations have endured. And this first feeling is the constant push to be on call 24/7, whether it be social media, work, family, friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, it doesn't matter. It is draining us. It's draining all of us. I mean, if you think about it, I just worked today and I was thinking about like my typical work day, and I usually wake up to about 20 to 30 emails in the morning. Throughout the entire work day, you're likely going to pick up on maybe another 50 to 100 emails, and then that's just for work. Then you've got 50 emails from personal life, and then you've got text messages from friends. And it's almost impossible to feel like you're getting work done because every email, every notification is halting your attention to tend to that. And I became victim to this until I figured out one of the solutions that I'll tell you later. But I just want to call out this overstimulation. There's hundreds of emails that come our way that slow us down that we don't really realize until we look at our checklist and our to-do list or our agenda at the end of the day, and there's nothing crossed off because we were just answering messages and not doing any form of deep work. This can also affect our lives. Most importantly, the ones that I feel the most are my mood and my overall energy. I feel like there's those days where I'm constantly like feeling the buzz on my Apple Watch, which, don't get me wrong, I love receiving notifications. However, when I do receive them too much, when it's just constant buzz, 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 I feel like my mind is just tired. And in return, I'm not able to do the work that I need to do. On the heavy notification days, I'm not going to be able to record podcasts. Also, you're irritable. You're kind of mad at yourself, but you kind of take it out on your friends or on your family, and then you're not showing up to events. And then so now you become the sour person and then you don't get invited. There's just a snowball cascade effect that notifications have played out in my life. And I know that I'm not the only person that's experiencing this because I feel like Gen Z people, like I said, are feeling like we're just constantly on call. And then another thing I want to mention before I transition to my next section is this work from home lifestyle I'm starting to realize is extremely taxing if you don't have the urge for boundaries for yourself. It kind of hinders your family life. It kind of hinders your personal life because don't get me wrong, working from home is great. There's a lot of flexibility, a lot of work-life balance in terms of if you've got to go to a doctor's appointment or if you've got to have someone come check out the water heater. Sure, it's great for those reasons. But there are some downsides that I know a lot of us in our 20s are experiencing with remote work or a lot of hybrid work that we were not really taught in school. And the first comes with this feeling that, you don't really get to escape work. So you constantly feel like you're having to answer Teams messages that come after 5 o'clock. Or, you feel like you have to emotionally stay in or psychologically stay at work because the room that you work in is your living room or it's your creative space at home. So all of these things, the working from home, the notifications from emails, the constant messages from friends, family, partners, all of this is contributing to this overwhelming feeling that notifications are bringing on us in our 20s. And this leads me to my second section is the control that it tends to have on us if we're not proactive and if we don't set those boundaries for ourselves. I mentioned, yeah, there's definitely a mental toll to where you're not able to, psychologically separate yourself from home life and work life. Also, you're going to be drained. Your energy is going to be deprived for those social events or those Friday nights that you enjoy going out with the boys or having girls' nights. Those are just gone if you don't slow down how much you're consuming. And then overall, the change comes in anxiety. It gives you this added pressure, this unwanted added pressure that you didn't need in the first place because you haven't set the boundaries and you haven't figured out a way to control the digital clutter that occupies space in your mind that you could be using for other things like planning the next date with your girlfriend or planning the next family outing with your parents. And with that, I want to transition into the back half, into this last part of the podcast, which are the solutions that I wholeheartedly feel have changed my days, that have changed my mood, that have just changed the way that I encounter my life. And the first starts with those boundaries. I do work 9 to 5 from home. I do enjoy going to the office on some days, whether if I'm seeing someone or, have an important meeting. But typically from 9 to 5, I'm working, doing my day job. 5 to 9, I am working on things that mean the most to me. It could be the podcast, it could be painting, it could be cleaning, doing household chores. And during this 5 to 9, I understand 9 to 5, I'm going to have to answer the emails. You got to do your job. That's another thing I want to preach. Some of the notifications you have to respond to. Others, like setting the boundary between 5 to 9, giving yourself the grace period of just 4 hours a day to like really just do the things that you want to do and that you need to get done is a game changer. And once you start to do this, you realize that the company's not going to crumble if you don't respond to the email within 5 minutes or the text message that your friend sends you of a meme. You don't have to watch that immediately. Like you can give yourself boundaries. You can set rules for yourself that allow you to space out the amount of time you're spending in front of a screen and the amount of digital content that you have to consume in order to live the life that you want to live. Another thing that I've seen that has helped that kind of coincides with setting these restrictions is that when I'm at home during the 5 to 9 period, or if I'm winding down for the day, or it's a weekend and I'm not working and I don't really want to receive a bunch of messages and memes and TikToks and stuff like that, I'm setting my phone in a different room. Now, this was a trick that I learned through my bi-monthly therapy sessions that, I had to talk to my therapist about this, of just trying to overcome. I didn't really have anxiety when it came to consuming digital content, but I was feeling some digital fatigue from the constant vibration on your wrist or the constant feel that you need to respond to an email immediately. And that kind of was taking a toll on my productivity. And, she mentioned, leave your phone in another room. Even if you have an Apple Watch on, set those do not disturb settings on your phone to where only certain critical messages will come through. Yeah, it is kind of weird because I feel like we kind of go everywhere with our phones nowadays. So you don't have that, safety weight in your pocket. But once you do this for a week or so, or 30 days to really create that habit, you're able to kind of disconnect a little bit in a way that you weren't really able to do so before. And this is really nice because I do feel like it's so simple, but it also allows you to enjoy your show a bit more or enjoy the time that you spend at dinner a little bit more because you're not focused or you're not sidetracked on whose email is coming through, or do I need to go, watch this Instagram reel that my friend just sent in the group chat. My mind is just a little bit more focused on the moment and I'm living in the present. And lastly, my favorite solution I have is to become that do not disturb friend. Be the friend that always has the notifications on D&D. I'm a bit biased in this sense because I am that friend. I am the friend that you're going to have to call twice to get to. If I don't have you on the D&D list, if your notifications aren't coming through, I'm likely going to see it within the next 15, 20 minutes. But I've really only got my sister, girlfriend, and parents and, immediate family on the immediate notifications simply because I'm tired of checking emails. There is real fatigue that comes from emails, text messages, phone calls, whether they be for work or home life, that you've got to take charge of. If you don't, you're going to drive yourself crazy. You're not going to be productive and finish the things that you want to do or need to do. And it's just going to take you downhill. So don't feel bad if you've got to say to your friends, hey, yeah, I'm turning my phone off for the night, or I want to have an unplugged weekend. I'm going out in the middle of the woods and I'm going to disconnect from our, modern day of living that's living behind a screen all day, every day. You shouldn't feel bad because if they're your friends or your real family, they're going to be able to understand because everyone feels this fatigue. And those who take charge and take ownership of their fatigue are those that, live their life to their fullest extent. All in all, I just want to say that I feel like us in our 20s and as we're navigating our 20s, we should be okay with reframing the concept of being unavailable. Not that you should be throwing everything to the side or you should be blowing stuff off, but you should be proactive and aware of who you're responding to and when. Not every message needs a rapid response, and you should take time for yourself and kind of take a step back if you haven't to, think about the clutter that you have in the digital space. Are you answering text messages too often? Do you receive too many notifications? Does this give you a lot of stress? These are questions that you've got to ask yourself in order to, kind of clear the mind and feel more at ease. Because it's the boundaries that protect our energy. And the more and more that I live throughout these days, the more I listen to older individuals, listening to the elders, as they say, I've come to learn that peace and like just true calm or tranquility is way more important than constant access. I don't need to be so accessible that, people feel like they can reach me and I'm going to respond within the millisecond. That's not how I'm going to be living my life. So with that, I would just encourage you to ask yourself, are you receiving too many notifications? Do you feel this digital fatigue that I'm feeling? And what steps can you take to improve your daily life? That's all I got for you today. I'll catch you in the recap. Peace out. All right. As always, thanks for listening to another episode of Let's Talk Reality. If there's one message that you take away from today, that's that we get one brain and one life. And this means that we don't have to give attention to everything that buzzes. And if you really want to think deep, you don't have to give attention in the moment. As we're navigating this early adulthood, my mid-20s for myself, we've got to be able to understand there is a give and take when it comes to answering notifications. I found myself extremely tired and just my mind was clouded from all the thoughts that I had when I was responding to different text messages, different emails, and I felt like I was getting nowhere. There's a saying that, you're everywhere and nowhere at the same time because you're just doing too much. In this podcast, I touched on the overstimulation, how it affects our mood, and a few tips that, you can incorporate into your daily life in order, to reduce the stress or anxiety that you may be experiencing from notification overload. And with that, I appreciate you for listening to another episode of Let's Talk Reality. If you want to learn about more topics, feel free to leave a comment wherever you're listening from, or shoot me a DM on one of our social sites. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Talk Reality Pod, and I'm on YouTube at LTR Pod. Just look for the red logo, and I'll be catching you every week with a new episode. Until then, peace out.